Okay. Hi, interwebs. Today I'm going to talk about something interesting that I found in the um, 19, I guess it's 78, early early 80s um, version of Dungeons and Dragons that I grew up with. To see what's going on, you're going to have to click on the icosahedral. You go to drduic.com, click on the icosahedral. It looks like an atom, and you can scroll down and you can look at these pages I created for this. So here's the big scary cover that got moms upset and teachers upset, and it's a fire Freedy on the front. But of course, it looks like a devil. It's got horns and stuff. Arguably so, it does look like a devil, right? And it's back in the era when I played. And the weird thing about the game is if you can't really read this book, it's just it's like a table compilation book, right? It's charts and tables and everything like that. So it was so cryptic that it scared adults. I guess it scared everybody, actually. The only people that were into it were nerds that were into like tables and charts and graphs and numbers and all that stuff. So this was a really, really fun game. One thing I noticed when I was looking through it the other day was the attack matrices. You used to use attack matrices for all your stuff, for all your gaming needs. And now, obviously, everybody uses, well, not everybody, but most games have used, got away from attack matrices and uses base to hit bonuses in the add-it and ascending armor class, so it's not needed, right? But there were some really weird things I noticed in it, and this is, I already have at the title, well, I have a 620s, and you're like, what are you talking about? I went back, I was looking the other day, and I said, there's a group of 620s in each one of these categories that slides up the chart. And why would Gary Gygax, the creative intellectual genius that he was, um, put that together? Now, this was written by him. I know Dave Ernst and him both came up with the game, but Gary wrote all this down, and the man loved tables and loved charts and loves, it's just the way he did things. I thought it was kind of cool. And so I play a retro clone, Swords and Wizardry, which is just basically advanced D&D, lifted and changed and more readable, more understandable, even than Osric, which I really like. But I can't convince people to play it when you pull out a attack matrix. They're not really interested in it. So Swords and Wizardry is my go-to, and everybody seems to enjoy it. I really love White Box, and once again, the one I use is the fantastic medieval adventure game. I got the hardbound version here, and this is beautifully well written and very fun because you only need 2 dice to play the whole thing. A 20-sided and a 6-sided covers all your gaming needs. I always say, and you understand how important that is for, how would you say, uh, players that kind of just they're not dedicated to thinking. They just want to play a game of social, and you say there's only 2 dice. Roll for. They always know it's a 6-sided dice. You roll for damage. Think about that. Okay, roll to attack is always the 20. Roll for skill checks always a 20. And then if you say, oh, damage or this, that, and the other thing is a 6, it makes it quite easy to play the game. People are less confused on what they need to roll for what. But let's look at this. This is why we're here, okay? I have found out when looking at the Dungeon Master Guide, page 74 was a part of the book was always splayed open, and every gaming session had all the attack matrices on there. And for those that don't know what they are, I'm going to blow one up and go into great detail what they are. But they tell you at what level you need to roll what number in order to hit that armor class, okay? So, but one thing that's on there is a certain stretch. Armor classes in the day went from 10, which was unarmored, to -10, which was had to be magical, because plate mail with the shield's like 2, field plate was 0. So it actually counted down. The further you went down to the more negative numbers, the better your armor class. But they had this stretch of 20s here. There's always 6 20s in each one of the charts. Now below one up in the next picture, you could actually see what it looks like. So the question I had is, why did Gary Gygax make this group of 6 20s in each matrix? And why did most retro clones? I don't know of one that kept it in, except for Osric. Went back and looked at it. I think someone has said ECMI, they kept it in. Certain ones do have it, but not often, right? What effect does it have on the game, and should it be inserted in your game as a house rule? That's just, people always say, oh, it's too complex, don't want to put it in there. But why would you put it in? What's the benefit it has? And I think it does have a giant benefit to the players, especially the fighter class, all right? And how would you put it in your current game? Because I actually solved that problem for you, okay? So this is a blown up attack matrix. Let me explain how it works. Obviously, some people already know, but armor class 0 is, and then eventually this is where Thaco came in, which is to hit armor class 0, right? As you can see, what happens if you have a 0 level fighter, it takes a 20 to hit a 0, right? And then at first level, it's still 20, but then it does this countdown. So essentially, you only need to roll a 19 at second level. So basically, there's a +1 to your roll. That's a way of kind of putting this together. So +2 your roll, +3, all the way up to, I guess in this case, it'd be a +16 if you're 17th level above. They all change a little bit. They're grouped out, and I'll give an example what they look like when I start doing the base to hit bonus change. Based on the type of character, right? So fighters, paladins, and rangers, they're here. Clerics, monks, druids will be a different group. Illusionists, thieves, illusionists, magic users, and thieves and assassins. They all have their individual tables for what they're doing. But one thing that's happening in that boxes, you can really see it. There's a group of 20s, 1, 2, 3, 6 in a row, and it climbs through the chart till it goes out of existence, right? And the question is, why is it there? Why do you do that? That's so interesting. You would think it would just make it completely linear. So I actually graphed this, all right? So this is this guy, right? Whoa, too far. This is this chart right here. And all I do is just graph it. As you can see, -10 armor class is a 25, right? So where's this one? Him right here, 25 for first level, and it goes all the way to 10. That's where I'm getting this. 25 all the way to 10. And I just graphed it because it almost looks like a sigmoid curve, which is really kind of interesting, right? There's that flat part of the 20s. You could flip it very easily and make it ascending armor class. So it goes all the way up, flat line, to go all the way back up to 25 is the highest, right? To hit an armor class of 30. This is how you would do this conversion. This gets kind of strange. So how do we incorporate this group of 20s in? Well, there's a way you can do it. So for descending armor classes, right, if you look at it like this, it goes all the way to 0, and then it's -1, -2, -3, -4. For an ascending armor class to be comparable to it, it'd be 20-1, 20-2, 20-3, 20-4, 20-5. You actually don't get the next jump to armor class of 21 using ascending armor class until you're -6. Now, it might be difficult to put that in a game and try to figure out how to do it. I think sometimes armor classes, if they get past 20, it's a little crazy anyways. So I try to limit that a little bit. But it may be something to consider. Like you might say, well, this guy, and you're playing 5e and you want to make it a little more easier, has an armor class, let's say, of 25. Well, I'm just going to keep it 20. If it's 26, I'll make it 21. So the characters still have a chance. And I'll show you why this is important. It's really kind of strange, right? So I look at the base to hit bonuses for advanced D&D. So for the fighter and paladin, I just kind of showed you on that one chart. It goes from 0 for first level all the way up to +16 if you're 20 level, right? Actually, 17 it has this stretch where it's 16 on. Cleric, drunken mute, and cleric, druids and monks. I said drunks. Wait, cleric, druids, and monks. As you can see, it goes 0, and then it has a group of 2s, group of 4s, 6, and you can see the bonuses. They jump by 2, but they're in little patches, right? These and assassins, the same thing, because they get this humongous bonus of going from behind. They get double damage and quadruple damage, tripled and quadruple. And so they get their bonuses. There's not as much as the cleric. Cleric could be a frontline fighter. Magic user, illusionists, the spellcasters, they don't get really their bonuses because there's that high, less than half, because they're casting those big spells, right? So this is what it looks like when you graph it. So I was really curious, right? Of course. So as you see the bonuses, this is a bonus to hit here, and this is your character level. You can see that the fighter paladin has a linear climb all the way up to 16, and then it flatlines. Okay, and this is not including magical items. If you had a +3 sword, geez, Lord, that's a +19 to hit. You know what I'm saying? Or you have, so this is sort of a very, very fascinating thing. And you can see this is the next one, clerics and druids. It's a 2-stepper. It goes up, kind of cool. And then of course the other ones, and you'd of course expect the magic user and illusionist to be the lowest, right? So here's Swords and Wizardry. Like I said, it's my game of choice. It looks like it's a retro clone, but it mimics first edition or advanced D&D so well. I use it. This is their climb, and I'm going to show you side by side. I kind of wish they put the fighter on top. This is my preference. They put in alphabetical order, so I get it. Look at how this works, though. You can see it's 0001, 2, 2, 2, and I'll show you the chart. You got to do a side-by-side comparison with advanced D&D. But one thing they do have in their attack matrices is no group of 620s, I'm sorry. So there's no group of 620s anywhere in here. It's just a straight linear climb. How does that affect the game? Well, I'll explain to you, right? So look at this. This is a side-by-side comparison of these two charts, and I've already showed you this one in detail. This is the one straight out of Swords and Wizardry. If I graph them against each other, just the fighter, this is what you get. That's the fighter's linear climb. And this guy, it does not nearly go as high, right? So if we look at this, a fighter gets a plus 13. This goes to plus 16, right? But look at this. This is the big comparison right here. Watch this. So here's, by the time you go to a plus 16 to hit, this guy's still plus 12. So there's like a 4 difference. But this stretch in here, it's kind of like one of these things. It's a very linear climb in advanced D&D, but this one, it's got a bump when it finally starts to go. But look at this. It does 9, 9, and it does here 7, 7. So that's where you get these 2 bumps. Da, 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 da. So you can see, being a fighter, paladin or ranger, in advanced D&D, you have a better bonus that's going to happen much quicker than if you were playing Swords and Wizardry, right? Now, let's do a little comparison. Why? Why does this matter? So, here we go. This is advanced D&D, right? They're both trying to hit an armor class of -4, or, I would you say, in ascending armor class of 23. If you don't have, in this case, you do not have any magical items. Swords and Wizardry, you cannot hit anything until you get to 6th level. Think about that. Swords and Wizardry, I'm a 6th level fighter, actually a 5th level fighter cannot hit something unless it has a bonus attached, right? Where in advanced D&D, you get to hit, right? 1, 2, 3, and this is not including strength bonuses, all this stuff. Fighters hit harder in advanced D&D because they have that stretch of 20s. Really, really hard. I mean, you could do this work several ways, give strength bonuses and all that stuff, and you could really, really see what happens there. Strength bonuses and Swords and Wizardry is just a +1. I mean, it actually goes up higher because of your fighter class, but still, it's the same thing applies to this group right here. That this actually has a giant play in how a fighter or paladin or ranger are going to do this game. And let me show you why. Statistics, right? So if you have a Swords and Wizardry fighter with a +2 weapon, that's not including bonus strength bonuses. You don't have any, right? I'm not putting that in here, right? If you rolled an 18 +2 weapon, which would be 19, 20, you actually have a 15% chance of hitting, right? A 1st level fighter has a 15% chance of hitting an armor class of 23. And obviously 2nd level, 3rd fighter, they're all the same. 4th level, 5th level, it's all the same until 6th level. Do you get a little bit of a jump? Now you're at 20%. Where these guys, even if you had a +2 weapon, it's not going to hit. You have +2. So if you have to hit a 23, you get a +2. You're still going to be shy of the 23 it takes to hit. Gives you a 0% chance to hit. Because even if you throw the strength bonuses in, this actually would make it even more interesting. I didn't do that because you could look at this so much that you make it crazy. But the idea behind it was like, this gives your fighters, I guess, a much more tankier existence in trying to hit things. So think about all this, because it should make sense. And I'll give you a little summary here. I like this little demon popping out of the ground here. I'm sure that's good for the parents. In advanced D&D, the bonus to hit for the fighter class increases faster and higher than Swords and Wizardry, right? The attack matrices in advanced D&D have a group of 620s that are major bonus, specifically lower level playing characters, trying to hit armor classes lower than 0, or higher than 20 if using ascending armor class, which is what I showed you. And this is where you're talking about monsters and demons, these really, really hard to kill things. Your fighter can't do much. Well, actually they can if you're playing advanced D&D with this, or you just put it into your game, right? First level fighters have a +2 weapon, have a 15% chance to hit an armor class of 4, compared to 0% chance in Swords and Wizardry. And I'm not, of course, not including strength bonuses for this. Well, with that, I just want to sum it up. I know this is a long video. Well, it's 15 minutes or so, but hopefully you found this interesting. Feel free to comment, and I hope you have just an excellent day. All right.